Hey, what's going on everybody? Steve here with Rake and Profit, and in today's video I want to talk about, is flipping items from eBay to Amazon good to start for someone who is brand spanking new? So let's just say that you just signed up for your Amazon account, you're brand new, you've never sold an item before. Is it smart to start with the eBay to Amazon model? And keep in mind, there's really no difference between sourcing from a thrift store, a garage sale, a flea market, eBay to Amazon. Like, they're all the same thing. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, a lot of people don't want to do eBay to Amazon because they're scared of getting an IP complaint, a counterfeit complaint. And, they're worried about, well, what am I going to do if I get a Section 3 or if, a brand's coming after me? Amazon wants to see a legitimate invoice. And it's good to know that if you're flipping items from eBay to Amazon, you're not going to be able to use an eBay invoice. But guess what? If you're sourcing from a thrift store, a flea market, a garage sale, an estate sale, you're not going to be able to use those invoices as well. It's the same exact thing. So if you're asking yourself, like, should I start with eBay to Amazon if I'm brand new, or is it better to start with a thrift store or a garage sale? Honestly, it doesn't really matter. The only advice I would probably give you, and this is an argument that people talk about as well, they talk about, new condition versus used. And I would say, if you want to keep your account safe, I would say new is probably a little bit more risky versus used items. I feel like you have a little bit more of a defense if you get a Section 3, or if Amazon comes after you and you're selling an item as used versus new. Still they want to see an invoice, but I feel like if you're selling an item that's used, you're probably a little bit more safe. You could say, hey, I sold it from around my house, even though they don't want to hear that. Or, hey, I went to a thrift store, I picked this item up. Even though you can find new items, I would say used is probably a little bit safer. I feel like with new products, if you're selling products that are brand new, you have a higher chance of the brand coming after you with like an IP complaint. But that's not 100% valid, because honestly, in my business, I sell almost 99% brand new items because I flip items from eBay to Amazon, and I use a prep center. I use Little Owl Prep, and I don't really trust a prep center. At least my prep center, I'm sure they would do great with it, but I don't trust any prep center to deal with used items, especially like used electronics or like Lego or board games, tools, different things like that, just because there's more of an inspection element. There could be pieces missing, it might be broken, like maybe a used VCR versus new. If it's brand new sealed, it's gonna be 100% working. I mean, there could be a manufacturer issue, but there's really no testing. There's nothing that, you have to do to test a new item. You don't wanna open up an item that's new, because then it's classified as used. So for me, I sell mostly new. And the reason it's not as risky as people think to sell new is because I'm not going after really fast selling products. So if you are a brand new seller and you don't want to sell used, even though I'd say used is probably a little bit safer, and I could go into more reasons as well, I'm only selling items that are selling 1 to 10 times per month. I'm not selling brand new cosmetics or supplements or electronics or tools that are selling 300, 500, 1,000 items per month. Why? Because those are the items that the brands are going to get pissed off with you because they're selling it. They could be on the listing, or they have wholesalers that are on the listing, and there could be MAP pricing. MAP pricing is essentially like an agreed upon price range that wholesalers have to sell on per a listing. So there could be an agreement that, hey, you could sell this Yeti water bottle, but you have to price it between 77 and 78, right? Or maybe everyone has to price it the same price. That's why if you jump on a listing and you see 20 sellers on the listing and it's all very similar price, and you look at the Keepa chart and it's like a straight line, you're like, wow, everyone's playing really nice. No, that's because there's MAP pricing. But to get back to the question, should you start with eBay to Amazon versus other things? I don't think there's that big of a difference. The biggest thing I would say, if you're going to be doing eBay to Amazon, I would take, various precautions, right? Like if you're going to be flipping DVDs, stay away from DVDs that are less than 10, 20,000 rank. Stay away from DVDs where the sellers on eBay have a quantity of 5, 10, 20. Stay away from the complete series DVDs that are newer, more modern, lower rank, multiple quantity. Maybe the picture kind of looks funky. overall, if you're going to do eBay to Amazon, stay away from really popular products, because the difference is, like, you could go to a thrift store and you could pick up a DVD that's an 8,000 rank and sell it. But the thing you have to understand is, at a thrift store, they're probably not going to be collecting bootleggers, inventory, right? Whereas on eBay, there's people from different countries, hey, even from the United States, but usually it's from like India, and they're setting up accounts, or Chinese sellers are setting up accounts in the US, and they're selling a ton of bootleg inventory. And the reality is, it's hard to tell if they're real or not. The artwork, the graphics, they all look fantastic, but the issue comes when you actually play that DVD. The quality's downgraded, pixelated. I mean, I've got a free guide if you guys want to check that out. Maybe I'll put a link down below if you guys are interested. I have a DVD counterfeit prevention guide that I created for my team. I've shared it in the eBay to Amazon masterclass, but I'm happy to give it to you guys for free. So I'll link that up down below in the comments. If you don't see it, just comment and say, where's that guide? And I'll update it in there for you. But I would say, if you're going to do eBay to Amazon, take precautions with the various products that you're going to sell. The really popular ones are typically going to be more of a target for counterfeits. And even if you're thrifting or doing flea markets, be very careful flipping like certain board games or like, home good items that are really popular, because those are known to give you IP complaints. Stay away from listings where the brand's on the listing. Stay away from listings where you see sharp declines in the keep account. Stay away from listings that are just really, really fast selling, popular, maybe map pricing, wholesalers are on it. Those are the types of listings that can get you in trouble. But there's really no big difference between thrifting. There's no big difference between buying out a bookstore, a used bookstore where you don't have an invoice, estate sales, flea markets. It's all the same thing. I would just say the biggest risk with eBay is the counterfeit. So you have to be careful, right? Scale slowly as well. That's another tip. When you're a brand new seller, scale slowly, okay? Because I've noticed that the accounts that are getting Section 3s are accounts from people who are doing all of the sourcing methods I mentioned. They're not discriminating on like E to A or A to A or thrifting or flea markets, but it's the accounts that go from, day 1, no sales, and then day 30, 15,000 in sales, and then 30,000. Like, if you scale too quickly, you're gonna make Amazon wonder, like, who is this guy or girl? Like, let's do a checkup. Let's Section 3 them. Let's see how they're sourcing their inventory. Also, if you're new and you start getting counterfeits and IP complaints, you're more likely to get a Section 3 where Amazon's going to want to dive into your account and, verify your identity, verify your supply chain, because you're getting IP complaints, you're getting counterfeit complaints. So there's an argument, if you're going to start selling on Amazon, I would start with products like books. And you could source books from thrift stores, from library sales, from eBay to Amazon. There's just less of a chance to get an IP complaint or a counterfeit. Of course, it's possible. I'd highly recommend using the tool BooksRun. It's BooksRun Counterfeit Calculator. So just Google that. They have a counterfeit calculator where you can type in the ISBN number, and it'll tell you if that book is likely, highly likely, or unlikely to be a counterfeit. That's a really, really great tool right there as well. And another benefit, I'll say this, another benefit of starting with like thrifting and library sales versus eBay to Amazon, so I guess this could be a reason to not start with eBay to Amazon if you're new, is you can source items so much cheaper from a library sale, from a thrift store, from a flea market, putting out free book pickup wanted ads on Nextdoor. Those are some reasons not to start eBay to Amazon, because with eBay to Amazon, you have to understand you're going to be spending more money. You're not going to be spending $1 at a thrift store to flip it for 30. You're going to be spending 15 on eBay to flip it for 30 or 40 or 50, right? Your margins aren't going to be 2, 3, 4, 500%. With a thrift store on eBay to Amazon, they're going to be 40, 50, 60, 70%. Now, of course, you can flip items from eBay to Amazon, like books, especially for 100, 200, 300%, but it's not as common, right? Another thing to keep in mind, and this is another reason not to start with eBay to Amazon, and again, some people do, some people don't, is there's more risk because you're spending more capital, right? If you're going to do eBay to Amazon or Amazon to Amazon flips, like these forms of online arbitrage, you're going to make mistakes. So there's an argument to start making mistakes on a budget by sourcing your items as cheap as possible. The benefit of sourcing from eBay to Amazon is you're cherry picking. You're working 100% from home. You could have those items drop shipped to a prep center. Like, you literally don't even have to leave your pajamas when you're sourcing from eBay to Amazon. But let's not lie here. Let's be 100% honest. When you're new, you're going to make mistakes. Why? because maybe you're not winning the buy box as much and you're overvaluing your items. Maybe you don't fully understand how to use the Keepa chart. Maybe you don't fully understand how to look at all the current offers, right? And you don't understand the discrepancies between FBM and FBA. Maybe you don't understand how to look into the Keepa data and look into the various buy box statistics. Maybe you overlook that Amazon's on the listing and you're trying to sell this DVD new, but Amazon's taking the buy box 99% of the time and it's only selling 5 times a month, which means you're not going to rotate into the box possibly, and it could take 6, 8, 12 months to sell. You're going to make mistakes when you're new. So you can absolutely start with eBay to Amazon, but what I always recommend people is to start going to thrift stores, start going to library sales, flea markets, sell stuff around your house. Yes, I know, I get it. There's risks, right? Because of Amazon, all these changes with, invoices and providing supplier proof and supply chain. But I've been doing this for over 12 years. I've been doing eBay to Amazon over 4 years. I have had some counterfeits and IP complaints, but all because you get one doesn't mean it's over, right? If you're newer, it could be over for you. But that's, a big reason why I try to sell a good amount of volume of items. So if I do get an IP or a counterfeit complaint, it just drops my score by, 20, 30 points. And, I'm able to just continue selling without, getting kicked off. A lot of people think if you get an IP or a counterfeit, you're kicked off. That's why when you're brand new and your score is, at 200, your Amazon account health score, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. So you have to prove yourself. So start by flipping items that are lower risk. In my opinion, the highest risk items are going to be really popular products. I don't give a damn what category. Health and beauty, supplements, electronics, tools. Those are more advanced categories you could get in down the road, right? I would say when you're brand spanking new, try to sell items like books. Try to sell CDs, media items, DVDs, board games that aren't like super duper popular, maybe some used video games that aren't super popular. Obviously, you're going to get hit with the challenges of like having to get ungated and, different things like that. But when you're new, you're going to be restricted and gated on a lot of stuff. Even books, you're going to be gated and restricted on 60, 70, 80% of the titles. But what's going to happen is as you sell more and more and you do more volume, those items that you're gated on, Amazon's going to open them up for you, right? And then there's like different things where you're going to apply and they're not going to require an invoice. So it takes time, right? It takes time. But I would say there's not a big difference if you're going to start with eBay to Amazon versus thrifting. The only thing I would say is, maybe start with used in the beginning, and if you're going to sell new, you have to make sure it is actually new. So it could get you in trouble. Like if you get caught selling an item as new, but it's actually used, that's a strike you could get in your account. So you have to be very careful if you're going to buy from eBay that it's really new, that it's actually sealed. I wouldn't be drop shipping it to a prep center right off of the bat. And like I said before, just to recap, another benefit of not doing eBay to Amazon in the beginning is you can take more risks and spend less money on your products by thrifting and doing all those other things, or even getting free book pickups. So you don't have a lot of money to risk because you are going to make mistakes. It's guaranteed. You're going to lose money in the beginning. It's impossible. You can watch every one of my videos, go through my courses, other people's videos, training. Like, we are going to learn the most by doing, and we're going to make mistakes. It's just, there's no way around it. But hopefully this video adds some context. I was just trying to be as open and transparent as possible. If you have any more questions, drop a comment down below. But with that being said, much love, happy sourcing, and let's go make that money.